Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Primetime Sports Podcast. I'm here with Andrew, Curtis. So what's up, guys?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Hope everyone had a great holidays. We're back, continuous episodes every week. And here we go. Right here, got three diehard Giants fans. We're gonna get into the Giants offseason, things we want to see. Giants were tied for the worst record in the NFL. So let's get it going. So what comes first is obviously free agency, right? So we'll start with this. What's one target you each want to see the Giants go for?
There's a lot of holes on his team. I believe the number is 55 million for cap. So, historically, you don't want to overspend on guys who are too old. But I'm sick and tired of seeing our O-line be depleted, bottom half of the league.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Trey Smith signing we spoke about with Kansas City would make a lot of sense. From a perspective of a team that needs a rookie QB and needs some offense, obviously that starts with the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get a rookie QB and just set him up for failure with a bad O-line, so you got to go O-line in free agency at least.
Okay. I like that.
I'm definitely in between the two. Definitely, I agree with you with the O-line, but I also like DJ Reed. I think that he had a little bit of a down year this year, but overall, he has proven that he's good. And also, say the Giants do take Travis Hunter will most likely be a one at corner, and DJ Reed has been a
career
one of, if not the best, second cornerback two in the league.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the big problems the Giants have had for a long time is having two actual they've seen corners had good years. We haven't had a corner outside Bradbury a couple of years, but they haven't had I don't remember the last time the Giants had a elite cornerback 1 and 2. I feel like a lot of teams have that, and the defense is good, but to take them to the next level, I feel like having those two guys that can definitely, as the offense is growing over time, your defense kind of holds you, kind of how the Jets were doing before they actually just collapsed this year. They were still winning 7 games purely off their defense.
Yes.
And having that, and then having, let's say, you take Dart in the second round, or say you get Fields, you have one of those guys play. Over the course of years, if they have good years, you'll be able to slide into a wild card spot. You'll be able to be good, and then you keep building off that. But also, they need a wide receiver too, also.
Yeah, honestly, I 100% agree with that. DJ Reed was probably a player I would say, but now that you said him, I'm going to go with Justin Fields. I look at this quarterback free agent class, and I think there's one guy that stands out. It's obviously Fields. He's very young. He's improved year by year. I think under Dable, I think he can take him from being an average passer and improve it more. So I look at him as a guy the Giants can sign, and he's still very young, and they can develop him. And crazier things have happened in the NFL. I'm not saying Dable can turn him into a great quarterback, but anything's possible. It's one of those things where it's he's a solid quarterback, and it's a mystery. He still has a lot more growing to do.
I feel it's kind of a why not. Why not?
Yeah,
if you're not taking one in the first round, you take Dart in the second round. Why not give him the chance? If he does well, you don't want to pay him. Okay, then you go up with he has a good year. If it's a bad year, well then you can bench him halfway through the year, and anything can happen. But it's kind of sometimes you're just okay, 1 year deal, prove a deal. You're not going to pay him big money. You're going to save money on not spending money on a quarterback too. It's definitely not the worst thing to do.
Yeah. I think all those were
I was just gonna say, because that just brought up a good point in my head. I remember a time where we had a GM out the door in 20, I believe the year was 2016. We had the whole McAdoo locker room, and that team was pretty good.
Yeah.
We had a couple nice trades, free agent signings. We had Olivier Vernon come in, Snacks come in, Janoris Jenkins come in. We had a lot of guys come in through free agency that year.
And they were good.
We completed a really good roster. Some might say, in 2017, obviously there was a huge collapse of the locker room, a lot of injuries. But like going into the 2017 season,
There were people that put the Giants in the Super Bowl.
there was a dark horse Super Bowl.
Yes.
And so like there are ways that we could successfully complete the roster. I'm definitely like there are definitely some routes for the Giants to be a better football team next year. The only thing is that we obviously have a GM who's like future's a little uncertain.
Mhm.
We have to make sure as a team we don't overspend, and really we could just be capped out for like 2-3 years. We cannot have that happen.
No.
I could see him doing that.
Joe Shane
Yeah,
said
I could
in
too.
his presser that he isn't going to go that route. Obviously, it's just him saying whatever. He can obviously go spend whatever the hell he wants, but I hope obviously he doesn't go do that. Like I hope
think he
I
will,
hope
but
if he spends
It's
money,
possible.
I hope it's a right team fit. Hope it's a young guy, or if it's a little bit older, make sure he's a right team fit. Make sure he's still good. I don't want to go into some Dave Gettleman bullshit where we're signing everybody. I mean, Adore Jackson obviously he was a nice signing, but like we signed Kyle Rudolph as well, Kenny Galladay. He just spent
Golden Tate.
I mean, he just went on like a rampage, just signing anyone he saw. So I just hope Joe Shane makes the right decisions. And I think personally, it would look better for the job if for John Mayer to see that he's still committed long term.
Do you think that he gets fired if we finish as an 8-9 football team with some improvement?
No.
So then based on that
I
fact
think
alone,
I think if they get 6 wins, they're fired. You gotta get.
I would say
you gotta get more than 6 wins.
I would say 7 to 8 they're safe.
Yes.
You got to see some serious improvement.
Well,
on
I think
offense.
as long as the team's competing all the way to the end of the football season, so if they're in contention to the last like couple weeks and there's a chance to make the playoffs and like they win like 8 games, they don't get in. Like I still think they're gonna keep the job. Therefore, they made moves that got them. They went from 3 wins to 8. Like you're not just gonna be like, screw that dude, get him out of here. Like you're gonna be like, like even just if it's another year. And if they go backwards, then they'll probably fire him.
And for all the there's a lot of Giants haters out there. We all know this. I mean, we're a laughing stock in the league at this point. It's very obvious. But it is very possible. We've seen this with many teams in the past that can go from 3 to 8 wins. It's not completely unrealistic.
Giants did like a couple years ago.
We just watched the Redskins go from a 4-win team to a 12-win ball club to get a win on the road in the playoffs. Yes, they have one of the better rookie QB seasons ever in Jaden Daniels. But from a roster standpoint, outside of Jaden Daniels,
their roster isn't that good.
they're not I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's not like
bad,
something you fear.
No, it's
I
not.
don't. You look at the position groups on their team, and I talked to obviously Matt. He's a Commanders fan. I always said it's like the reverse Giants of 2022. I mean, your quarterback is carrying a weak roster. While I look at 2022 and I look at some of the guys on the team, and I said the team carried the quarterback almost. I know DJ played average, but I mean, look at some of the guys: Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, Xavier McKinney, Kayvon.
You look at the defense here. Your safeties were Love and McKinney. At corner, you had Dory Jackson who played well. Your interior was Dexter Lawrence, Leonard
Fabian
Williams.
Moreau had a good year.
Fabian Moreau had a good year. Exactly. The team, the offensive line it wasn't good, but it was good enough.
It was serviceable.
They were top 10 in the red zone. I saw this.
That is the biggest thing with the Giants. Actually, that you say that because I feel like every year I always hear that the Giants are the worst red zone team in football, and I feel like the amount of times I watch the Giants and they just settle for field goals in the red zone, it's incredible. How much they do it.
Well, that's crazy to me because now here's my thing. You got a whole lot of different skilled weapons on the Giants. We're a very fast receiver unit.
Yes.
And they all can get open. There's no questions about them having separation issues. But now once you get into that 20 yards to the goal line, right? You're talking that red zone area. Who's the guy that's going to go get you your touchdown? Because it's not Saquon anymore, obviously. Where is that going to? Tyrone Tracy. Tyrone Tracy, fine. Okay, he's a good player. But there is no position, there's no player in our offense that screams red zone threat. And I understand we have Malik Neighbors, but as a red zone threat, I don't think we've seen that in his game just yet.
No.
That's the next jump he has to take.
That's T. Higgins, Mike Evans,
Malik Neighbors, and whoever else. We need to add a complimentary piece to him, obviously, but I want to see him take that next step in the red zone next season.
2 things I want to say that go into this somewhat. One of them is about the red zone. I'm hoping we see Theo Johnson take a jump because before he got injured, I think it was a 4 or 5 week stretch, he looked very good. He was
Yeah.
catching balls, breaking tackles, hurting the defense. I feel like he can be that guy, that reliable pass catcher that can move the chains in the red zone, you know? And another thing is, you talked about 2022, how Giants were top in red zone offense. I mean, one big thing I want to see. I want Mike Kafka to go back to calling plays. In 2023, Dable started calling plays. He didn't admit it, but it was very noticeable. He was calling plays. And I noticed that's when the change in Brian Dable happened. I like Brian Dable strictly as a head coach.
I agree.
I like him managing the team. Obviously, they're going to bring back Shane Bowen and Kafka. Bowen, manage the defense. Kafka, call plays. Dable, you focus on the roster. You get everyone right. That's what I want to see.
It all stemmed from that one Arizona game. I remember when the Giants, they got blown out by Dallas, and they went to week 2, and they were down 21-0 at halftime.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, Dable had the playbook in his hand and was calling everything. And then they came back and won that game, and all of a sudden, Dable was like, "All right, screw you. I'm running everything." And then
And that's why I've been frustrated with Dable, because I do notice that change, I guess, in him as a head coach. I mean, look at him year 1, how he was so locked in on the team. It looks like now it looks like he's back as an OC. He's locked in as an OC. I want to see you be locked in.
and what I think that also did is, I feel like it kind of like the whole thing with these good teams, they all have the locker room.
Mhm.
Like, literally, like the teams that grow together, like in sports, like for example, like just off the top of my head, like Notre Dame this year. Like Notre Dame is not better than the teams they beat. They're not on paper, not at all. But they just like as a team, as a unit, like Riley Leonard would always say, like they are just like connected. Like every day they're hanging out with each other. This, that. They're all best friends. This, that. And when you're doing that, it just like the culture really wins you championships. It wins you games. And the year that they went 2022. They went on a stretch of beating all these teams, and like I remember when they went to Baltimore, they went on one game. I was like, oh, they're serious. Like this team is good, and like the culture was just like you'd see the locker room vids after the games. You would see like they all were just like so close, and it was just like it's like we lost that locker room.
Well, you also like once you release
You lost 3 prominent locker room
As
figures.
much as I don't like Daniel Jones, I feel like as soon as they released him, they really lost everyone.
Well, because you know the thing is that you're a ball club who's trying to win games. Everybody in the room is trying to protect their job. Everybody's worried about their contract, their salary, right? You have a guy who can. I mean, listen, he wasn't a good quarterback, but he was the best quarterback on our team.
Yes, he was definitely the best QB.
And for a guy like Darius Slayton, who's trying to get his money, you realize that your best QB, your best chance to get the ball just got released. Yeah, I'd be really mad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I'm a guy like Dexter Lawrence, who
him and Daniel Jones have been friends from the start. I mean, Dexter Lawrence, I mean, he's generational. I think he'll retire as a future Hall of Famer. You're trying to win. I mean, you've been on the Giants, you've been losing. Now they just released their best QB. It's like at this point, what are we doing? It's like you don't want to waste your career. And the guy's your best friend too.
You don't disrespect vets, and this is the one thing that the Giants have never really done well. And I understand, like historically we have a great history as a franchise. I get all that, but like we were the same franchise that benched Eli Manning when he had the record going for most consecutive starts by a QB. We gave it to Geno Smith for no reason. We started Eli the next game. We never respected our vets, and this culture really starts from the top. I think ownership is to blame, and that accountability will never actually be there because obviously they're the ownership group. But that starts from the top. It all trickles down. Dable from here on out, I think, learns from this and probably grows as a coach from this. That's why I wanted to give him the extra year. Next year, I think the captains get a ton of weight, ton of respect, because now I think Dable has to win back the trust of those vets. Expect Burns to get a captain patch. Expect Dexter to return as a captain. Guys like that who will take over and be a good leader for the team. That's the bottom line. Neighbors, I think, still has to earn that patch. On offense, I think
he will eventually learn it. I mean, earn it. I mean, he's 21 years old.
Yeah,
the way he speaks in the locker room, like you could tell, like even like the vets got respect for him. Like he's gonna get it one day. Probably not this year, but
he's one of the best players on the team. He's really our future. I mean, as of right now, with no QB, he is our future.
He as good as Dexter Lawrence is. People look at the Giants and they think Malik Neighbors. He's the new face of the franchise now that Saquon's gone.
100%. Nobody thinks of a defensive tackle.
Yeah, a D tackle is
I
a
mean,
franchise guy.
You know,
Unless you're Aaron Donald.
Yeah, unless you're Aaron Donald.
which I mean, he almost is really. I mean, obviously not yet because the
Yeah.
Giants stink. But like, let's say the guy was on a good team that could win the Super Bowl. All of a sudden, we'd be talking about Dexter Lawrence like he's Aaron Donald.
I mean, Dexter Lawrence as a nose tackle had 9 sacks before he got injured. He was on pace for like 16, 17
I mean, and
sacks.
if he wasn't tripled, like I said, like the Giants legitimately have stunk his entire career with the exception of one season where we were a wild card team. Imagine if we could finally give this guy a true contender. All of a sudden, you're looking at a Hall of Fame resume and a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
No, I agree. It's just like Dexter Lawrence did so well throughout the year, and that's all because they signed Brian Burns. Like sack wise, like again, he's always been good with pressures. He's been good at everything, but like the actual numbers when it comes to getting like actually sacking the quarterback, he got that last year. Purely off the fact that now you had Cave on there, and then Aziz was healthy at that time, and then you had Brian Burns. That you couldn't just triple team him and just leave it at that anymore. Like if he got in a double team, there's a chance he would have broke it off. Like he was doing everything because they had other options outside. So I'm kind of excited to see. Hopefully they all stay healthy next year. Like those numbers in the pass rush, because that's also why I want the secondary upgrade to free agency because having that pass rush with that secondary, I like our linebackers. Safeties, I don't really care much. But Newton looked good, and then obviously, and Dave Belton, you can kind of just keep him in there, and that's fine. You don't really
Dave Belton got better too.
He did get better. You don't have to make a big improvement. You can kind of let that ride. So I like the defense. I think the most important thing really though is team's just offensive line.
You can't average 15 points a game.
You can't, and it's like you need a quarterback. I agree, but we've seen teams with okay quarterback play but have great offensive lines do well. Like
I mean, look at the Steelers, and I'm just saying, they added Russell Wilson, but
example though. But
the
Russell
first
Wilson
5 weeks
got cut.
Yeah, no, I know.
Cut from a football team and went on, and then he made the playoffs with another team. Now, I understand the Steelers have everything built around them, but still, like you gave him George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth, and you said, yeah.
Also, like
They
look
went
at their
4-1 with
defense.
Fields. That's my point.
It didn't matter to that because the whole team is built so well. The only thing they're missing, that team would be an actual contender if they just had a quarterback.
Well, look at their defense. Their defense is like top notch, top of the league. If you replicate what they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, like for the Giants haters out there, not that astronomically far away from the Steelers defense. Like you look at their team, we have the rush,
They're a draft pick and a cornerback signing away.
Exactly. They need the corners. That's it. If you get your corners, you solidify. I mean, the safety position actually. I mean, you're never going to be able to match Minka in this draft. Minka Fitzpatrick.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, listen, you can make up for it with a decent cornerback signing or Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter and DJ Reed, like we talked about.
That can take the Giants into like top 5 defense. So
that's what I'm saying. You replicate that. Now all of a sudden, we all know this. I'm a big Justin Fields guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like we could sign Justin Fields right now. I'll be over the moon. You replicate that defense, get a top 10 defensive unit, right? You give Justin Fields Malik Neighbors. That's already his best receiver I think he's ever had.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors. All of a sudden, you maybe invest a 2nd round or 3rd round pick in another receiver. Sign somebody. Maybe retain Slayton. You got a decent unit for him to work with. Maybe, I mean, I know you're against the idea. Maybe draft a running back a little earlier than suggested, a little earlier than you're supposed to. Get a guy with a little bit more explosiveness to pair with Tracy. Now you got a running attack of Fields, Tracy, a rookie running back. Like these are all things that can make us go from a 15 points per game team to what are the Steelers like 20, 21?
Probably around there.
I mean that's 2 more field goals, 1 more touchdown a game. How do we get our football team to 1 more touchdown a game? That's the goal. Can we get to 22 points a game? If that happens, we have a good unit on defense. We could be like an 8-win team, like we discussed. That was the goal.
I mean, look at the Giants right now. We know they heavily lack quarterback. They heavily lacked cornerbacks. I mean, in my opinion, I think those are the 2 most important positions in the sport. And I think it's as easy as if you add Justin Fields, if you did bring in Travis Hunter and did bring in DJ Reed, I can guarantee you they will at least double their wins.
I mean, look at that cornerback room. Hunter, Reed, Phillips, Banks. You could potentially put Banks at cornerback 4. There is a legitimate argument for that in year 2.
If we bring in Reed and Hunter, he's 100% quarterback 4.
I mean, assuming he has no which I find it hard to believe too, because I feel like him going into next year is one of the players I'm actually most excited to watch, because I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's a type of player that got, like we talked about, the locker room affected his mentality, and he started playing poorly.
Mm-hmm.
With confidence and with a system that he believes in, some hype in the locker room, I think he could still be a good player. Like, let's not forget, he led the Giants in passes defended this year. Like, there were flashes of him being good.
Mm-hmm.
He had a decent game against the Falcons when he was guarding London. A decent game. He has typically decent games against bigger receivers, taller, guys who aren't really speed guys.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to get better at just making plays on the football. Can he make plays on the football?
There's been countless times I've seen, I think I talked to Joe about this, where he just, like, he's there.
Exactly.
But he doesn't, it's almost like he's running and not using his hands.
Know what you want to do?
He'll be right there and just, like, the ball's right there and there's nothing.
Watch the first quarter of Giants-Browns, him guarding Amari Cooper.
No.
Glued. Literally
I know.
glued him. Amari Cooper caught 3 passes on him. He did not make a play on the ball. I 100% believe Deonte Banks can stay shut with a CB. He needs to get better with his hands. That's the biggest problem with his game right now.
That's why he's so good against these big, bulky receivers, because he doesn't really need to use his hands. He just needs to get physical. He has no problem being physical. He has a problem with guys who are shifty, because all of a sudden when he's in space, he can't make a play on the football. Those guys are going to get a little bit of separation and just cook him all day. A guy like CeeDee Lamb is his worst nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
A guy like Jefferson is his worst nightmare. And that's not just like, obviously they're elite guys.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know, Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is not like he's a good receiver. He's not a top 10 receiver. He's arguably not even top 15. Now, you look at a guy like that, cooked Deonte Banks. Cooked him. Why? He's shifty. He gets open. He gets separation. What's Deonte Banks going to do? How many career picks does he have at this point? 2?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe?
I think 2.
I think the one this year was off a deflection too. I don't even think it was a real pick.
Did he have a pick this year? I don't think he did.
If he didn't, then that's 1 pick in his career. Honestly, I can only remember one off the top of my head.
All I remember is Flott having a pick, Drew Phillips having a pick, Belton. I don't think he had.
I mean, imagine being a first-round draft pick, second-year player in a system like I understand Wink wasn't really like. He was like 100% blitz, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This year should have been the year where our cornerback succeeded and got picks with the Bowen defense, in my opinion.
We need more CBs that can make plays on the ball. I saw this on Twitter. They're like, I mean, look at the Giants CBs, and they need to make plays.
I mean, Phillips is great. Phillips had a good year.
Yes, he's great. But like, badly, the Giants need CBs to make plays. That's why
I think outside of Phillips, you need to bring in 2 guys. If you do that and you have Phillips, you use Banks as a 4, right? Because obviously you're gonna use Phillips in the slot. So you're gonna have Reed, Hunter shadowing probably the best 2 guys. For the plays that Hunter is on offense, right? He's gas. He can't play defense. All of a sudden you can rotate Banks in.
Mm-hmm.
I should have no problem doing that with my first-round pick. That's his goal. That has to be. And if we don't draft Hunter, and let's say we go get a Shedeur Sanders, which I still think at this point is possible.
I personally, I don't see quarterback. I don't see both going with 1 and 2.
So, like I said, it is possible. If we get Shedeur at 3, and now we don't have Hunter, and let's say, we sign Reed, but we don't get Hunter,
mm-hmm.
I should have no problem with Banks being my cornerback 3 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
That should be no issues for him. And I don't think that's too much to ask from a guy who is our first-round pick. Like, he has to step up. He cannot be a bust.
Yeah.
Especially since last year he played good. 2023 Deonte Banks had me excited. I was like, wow, like, Deonte Banks is legit.
Because he was good, and then he was playing okay, and then but then usually rookie corners aren't usually like at the jump just amazing. So you're like, okay, he's gonna like get a lot better, but then this year it just kind of like it went backwards.
Yeah, it went backwards.
I mean, it could be a sophomore slump. It happens.
It does happen.
I do like you're saying. I do think that if they do go Sanders, then they 100% have to get Reed.
Yeah.
And then you run Reed and Banks.
But I
also like a wide receiver, and I think that I think Hunter, Banks, and Phillips, and then say you got a wide receiver. I think that would be good. Even if let's say they drafted a wide receiver, right? So you went first round, you went Hunter, and you had Banks and Phillips. Then the second round, you went wide receiver. So then you have Neighbors, whoever you drafted in the second round, and then Waddell. It kind of like splits it up, because if we put everything towards the corners, we're still missing that other weapon on offense, and the Giants really need that weapon. And like Neighbors, amazing, top 10 receiver, but they need another guy.
I mean, Hunter will obviously factor in there.
He will, and I have no problem with him. But like, you need another guy that's gonna be like, all right, he's set in there. When those guys get off, take a break, he goes in there.
So now, do you go get a guy? I don't know, like a vet guy, like a Diggs. Do you go get a guy like that, give him a chance?
That's what she wants, though.
Because like, I mean, even like, I don't know. There's a lot of guys in this free agency class that are a little bit older that have a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's okay to give them a guy like that a chance.
I just don't want them to overpay on those guys, because that happens a lot when guys overpay for
Yeah,
older guys.
I do like Diggs a little bit, because I think him coming off I think it was the ACL. I think he's gonna want to sign a 1-year deal, probably like around, if anything, like 10 to 15 mil. Show what he got, and then if he has a great season, he'll cash in next free agency. So I think that's very possible, where Giants and Diggs could be like, listen, like, we want to bring another wide receiver. You want to, have a bounce back year. I think it would make sense for, honestly, both parties.
I mean, I don't know how much it really helps your locker room. I mean, listen, Diggs can have a positive influence.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong. He did.
But we saw what happened with Buffalo.
And I can't have if we get Sanders, I can't have Stephon Diggs getting Sanders.
I actually completely agree. Those two would just be two.
They'll be butting heads.
Like not gonna lie, like Josh Allen as a person is just the most calm, cool guy. With all that stuff going on, not a single word came out of his mouth. That would not happen with Sanders, and it would be a
100%.
whole bigger deal, and it should have been a bigger deal in Buffalo. Like they would scream at this dude.
Realistically, that's why I honestly, like I just thought Diggs would make sense, but at the same time, free agency comes before the draft. So I feel like, honestly, they might avoid Diggs, because I think they will be heavily interested in Shedeur, and I think that might be a recipe for disaster, like having both of them working with each other.
I mean, that Shedeur Sanders situation really interests me, because last year there's a report that came out about the Giants that said last year's scout grade for Shedeur Sanders was a 2nd to 3rd round pick. Now, last year we would have all believed that. I
kind of agree, and then obviously he had a better year this year, so I'm not gonna be like, oh, okay, like.
I mean,
I just don't. My whole thing with quarterbacks is, and this is the one problem I have with them. Outside of, I think he takes too many sacks, and I think the offensive line with that would be him and Cam Ward. I think with this offensive line would actually not be good fits. Cam Ward is he's good when he's not under pressure a lot. He's shown the ability to get out of pressure, but he's so used to being like calm in a cool pocket. Short tries to do way too much, takes so many sacks. He took the most sacks in football last year, and a lot of them weren't even just to blame for the offensive line. But as an athlete, like as a person, Sanders, your QB needs to be your leader. Like there's no team that wins when their QB isn't their number one leader. When you think of like the teams that the Mahomeses, the Brady's, Stafford's, like those guys that actually have won in the past, they are the guys that lead the team people look up to. They can't be causing any sort of problems. And I feel like if something went wrong, something like this happened, like Sanders he's got a loud mouth, and I feel like the media's gonna be on him at all times. And I don't seem to be the biggest leader on the field.
So, all honesty, right now, if you have to pick Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter, who are you picking? They're both there.
I personally, I haven't watched much Shedeur film yet, but from what I have seen of him, I do like him. I do, as a head coach, I don't know, but as a guy who could develop a quarterback, I 100,000% believe Brian Dable can develop a quarterback. And I think the Giants need to get their guy. I don't know what's going to happen, because we know the Giants are going to improve their team big time one way or another. We don't know how they'll do it, but they will do it. I don't know if we will be at this pick again, at pick 3 again.
No, I agree.
So my point is, I think you have to get your guy. I think you look at Brian Dable. You brought Brian Dable in so he can go develop his quarterback. I mean, with Daniel, when he came in, Daniel Jones was going into what? Year 4, I think? Year 4. He didn't have the chance to really develop it. So my point is, if Shedeur's on the board or Ward's on the board, I'm 100,000% taking him, not passing it up.
I agree.
That's kind of either way I look at it.
Because they absolutely, I mean, to win games, you don't win games with a bad quarterback. Doesn't happen. Teams, they don't make the playoffs with a bad quarterback just because their team's complete. But no team actually generally wins anything. Like, if you look at all the past QBs that have won, they're all just talked about as elite quarterbacks. Every single one of them. And you need a guy. The Giants haven't had, like, again, like Jeff said, like, their pick, they're not going to, this is in my opinion, the rock bottom. You're not going to be able to go up a lot more. If the team's going to get better, they're not going to be able to get a quarterback next year. Like, they're not going to be able to get a top quarterback.
Yeah, no, I don't see them being. I don't see them.
So if we don't see them being, they don't see the team being this bad again, then they should 100% get the quarterback now, because there's no other direction. Now, if they don't like them, that's two different things. If you're fully committed to trading up the first round and, like, say you want to make sure you get your guy, say they trade up in the first round and make sure they get Dart, say they take him in the second round, whatever. But, like, they need to walk out of here with one of those guys, whether or not they sign Fields or not. They need to walk out of here with another quarterback, because it's just like Fields 1 year option doesn't work out, then where are we?
I mean, here's my thing. Here, and we look at the NFC, right? The NFC as a conference is weaker than the AFC.
100%.
But now we look at our division. Unfortunately, we happen to be the NFC East. Listen, things could be worse. But, in my opinion, that division will always be competitive. This is not the NFC least of the 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the 2010s, the NFC East winner was 7-10, 8-8, 9-9, and whatever every year.
Dallas went healthy, Eagles right now, and Washington is now good. But
We are looking at a decade, or let's say conservatively 5 year stretch, where the Eagles, Dallas, and Commanders could all be 10+ win teams for the next foreseeable future. To keep up with those teams, you have to pick Shedeur Sanders.
Yes.
And even if it's an outrageous bust, let's just say it was a terrible pick. We look back on it one day and we're like, wow, like I would actually rather pick Travis Hunter, go 0-17 the next year and get the first pick the next year.
you can't keep waiting.
You cannot keep waiting. You have to take that chance, because in this situation, you have teams that are literally just lapping you. I mean, and you know next year's schedule is going to be, we have the number one strength of schedule, the worst schedule in football next year. We have to face at home the Kansas City Chiefs. We have to face, I think, like all these AFC guys, all the top
Our
guys.
home schedule is. Our away schedule is easier than our home schedule.
So, like, here's my thing. Next year, to win, to actually be a competitive football team, we need to bring serious quarterback talent in. You can't wait around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Justin Fields, like we said, great rental. I think it's a good option to have that QB battle in camp, give Shedeur some confidence, give Shedeur something to work for. I don't want to hand him the keys right away. I want him to work for that job.
Mm-hmm.
But for the foreseeable future, he is our only real chance at keeping up. And again, like, you have to be able to take that chance. If it fails, it fails. But we're going to be in last place regardless. I mean, like, it is like almost like a lock. If you went on FanDuel right now to bet the Giants where they would finish in the NFC East next year, we are definitely 100% favored to be last place.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to take that shot. If it doesn't work, we're exactly where we were expected to be. Last place. Next year, new coach, new GM, you start over. But at this point in time, you have to take that big punch. You have to take that swing and miss punch.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, if we pick Shedeur Sanders and we think he's going to be the next CJ Stroud type rookie year, right? Let's say he falls a little bit short. All of a sudden, he's like a 3,700 yard, 30 touchdown guy.
I mean, still, that's the best quarterback you've had on your team since Eli Manning.
You're looking at a guy who could get you wins, make you a respectable ball club, steal a couple wins, get you to 8 wins, keep Dable around, keep Shane around.
If you even get us to like 6, 7, even like we're going upward, like we win 6, 7 games, right? The other games are all 1-score games, and we're playing competitive football all year. We're not getting blown out. Like, it still is just like, you could tell by watching games what the team looks like. If we look good for the whole year, but we just have a tough schedule, we'll notice it, we'll see it, and we'll be like, okay, like we're trending in the right direction now.
Exactly.
I think this is why you need to go not only quarterback, but I really do like Shedeur Sanders, and I think under Brian Dable he will be a great quarterback in this league, which is why he would be my preferred pick at 3. Obviously, we need to see how the board plays out and whatnot, but that's who I would go with. But
So are we all in agreement? Shedeur Sanders over Cam Ward?
Yes, because over Cam Ward.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I can't even say.
I really think
really
think it's just gonna come down to who. I don't really care that much because I know it's gonna come down to who is on the board. Like one of them's gonna be off the board.
I mean,
I think one QB will be on the board with the Giants.
Exactly. So that's the QB we have. And I personally I like Cam Ward. I think that I'll say as a leader, he's a very, very good leader. I feel like nothing bad has ever came out about Cam Ward. Only good things about him, like off the field and like in the locker room.
Mm.
So I'm really with that. But they just have to go quarterback because like you look at free agency when it comes to quarterbacks. No quarterback ever gets free agency. No quarterback ever really gets traded. None of that really happens. It's more on the rare side, especially the good ones, right? But like you see wide receivers at free agency all the time. You see corners at free agency all the time. You know, this year it's a little only a couple guys really for corners. Wide receivers, who do we got? We got Godwin's on the board, Higgins on the board. Like you have guys, established guys that are on the board. But quarterback's your best option. Justin Fields, like no offense to Justin Fields.
I mean, Godwin, if he's there, I would like.
I would love Godwin.
I would love
Godwin.
They're gonna franchise tag him. They're not gonna.
I mean, my thing is right now with the Giants and Cam Ward, Shedeur. You guys know I'm not big when it comes to picking a prospect and solely looking on stats. Stats are taking over the game. I think we all kind of know that.
No, 100%.
Advanced analytics is the future.
Especially college football. College football is the most. I mean, I don't care if someone goes 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, they're playing nobody, and they don't look like they're good for the NFL. They look like, they can't throw a ball under pressure.
That's
they can't do these little things. Like
the eye test. That's what I was getting at. That eye test is, for me, the biggest thing. I watched Shedeur Sanders play football, right? I watch Shedeur Sanders play football, and it gets me excited. It gives me hope that the Giants can be successful in the foreseeable future. He hits all the short throws. He hits all the medium throws. He has long deep ball potential. He can escape the pocket, extend plays, throw on the run. These are all things that I look for. And you guys know like how I've been hard on Cam Ward. I think he's a great prospect. For me, when I look at that eye test, right? Spoke about it earlier. That clean pocket, standing, nonchalant in the pocket. It's a big meme right now. But
it's real though.
It's real. It's a real issue. I mean, I don't think it's a good thing that we're standing nonchalant in the pocket. It's the calmness is good. Lack of tempo, lack of pocket awareness is not. In the NFL, that is not holding up.
It's definitely
no
not.
way.
Forget the NFL. It's not holding up with the Giants.
It's not holding up in preseason.
No.
You'll get schooled quickly if that's the approach. Whereas Shedeur Sanders, he takes the sacks, but he also extends plays. So what I think in that situation is that's a Brian Dable fix. That's something that Brian Dable can teach. I don't think you can necessarily teach Cam Ward to extend plays. I think it's a little bit harder to do than to teach Sanders, hey, if someone's coming at you, get the heck down. There's no need to run back another 10 yards or try to do something crazy.
Trying to teach his words. Just don't do that.
I mean, and we are looking at a guy in Brian Dable who's an offensive-minded coach. I believe, like you said, that he could get that done with a guy like Shedeur. Cam Ward, he could get it done too, but I just think that just a little bit more that he needs. Just a little bit more. I think he's a little less pro-ready than Shedeur Sanders, and I think that's just the difference.
I think Shedeur is more Giants ready. Like
yes.
He fits more into like the offensive line we have is not good. Even if he's not good with the offensive line he has right now, it's bad. I'd rather take a guy that's played with a bad offensive line and still has played good.
Exactly.
He's put up good numbers. He's put up good numbers and he's played well. It might take too much sacks, but again, you could fix that, right? But overall, he's played with that rather than Cam Ward to go in there and be like, wow, my offensive line sucks. I don't know what to do. I've never been under this much pressure before. Like, trust me, Cam Ward has made pressure throws. He's done all this stuff. He's led great drives, big-time games, right? The team looked good, Heisman candidate. But overall, just like, when I look at him, I feel like there is a lot of just like, that offensive line is just, the way they looked was just a lot better as a group. And he's coming over here, and I'm like, all right, if I had a good offensive line,
I mean,
I might have taken Cam Ward. I might be like, all right, because he makes all the right throws when he's got the time, but he doesn't have time. He
but
doesn't have anything.
imagine you're Cam Ward on the Giants having to go to Philly and play a freaking game against the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly with our current team and our current offensive line. Cam Ward could not be Cam Ward. He would be a shell of himself. He could not flourish on the Giants.
I think
The Eagles
I
would
think
destroy him. The Eagles pass rush would eat him alive. Here's the thing. Again, you got to look at your division. Our division is stacked on the D line.
Mhm.
Stacked. Even the Commanders. You look at their defensive line. They got a lot of pieces.
are we talking about one healthy? Because one healthy, our bookends are Andrew Thomas and Jermaine Illuminor, which I do like a lot. Obviously, I don't fear the Commanders' D line. I'm sorry, I don't. They're having a good year. I don't fear them as a whole. Cowboys, I do. You got Micah Parsons. He's just a game.
I will say this. Okay, the offensive line looked competent the first half of the season that everyone went down for injuries.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. But overall, just like in a sense of NFL ready, I think it's going to be much easier to throw Shedeur Sanders' offense right now.
I mean, look at the interior offensive line.
It's
really,
garbage.
not just the bookends. I mean, I get it what you're saying.
You're going to have to have John Runyon have a good year, and you're I've given up on JMS a while ago. I mean, that guy's going nowhere.
Yes.
And then right guard is just like, I don't even know who's going to play that.
I mean, we're celebrating a 68 pass block rate for PFF JMS.
Right,
We're literally celebrating that. That's a huge upgrade. I mean,
70.
our interior O line cannot handle a Jalen Carter right now.
No.
It can't.
No.
And
I think you need to bring in another center this offseason, either a veteran one or I'd even draft one because
you really need a veteran one.
I wouldn't draft one.
You really need to see a veteran one. I mean, JMS was the best center in the draft, and usually the best centers in the draft always end up being good. They always end up being good. They only win the second round because they're a center, and somehow this dude hasn't shown a glimpse of just being good. It's been bad the whole entire way through.
I mean, there was a play versus the Buccaneers where Vita Vea literally shoved him into the ground off rip.
Imagine,
you can't have that.
Imagine I can only imagine what happens in Giants OTAs. Dexter Lawrence versus JMS.
Probably they don't show us.
They need to bring in a vet center, and we need to bring in guys this offseason and say, hey, here's competition.
For example, bro, we saw Feliciano, right? Like he came in and he was good. He was fine. Like there's no problems. Like if there's no noticeable problems, I have nothing wrong with the offensive line. They might already give a few sacks, whatever. But it was the point where we go 8 sack games, 6 sack games, where it's looking at we're just like, dude, like the offense, literally you can't run your offense because every second as soon as you snap the ball, the guys can't run their routes, reads aren't getting open. It all starts with the offensive line, and the team can't draft. They cannot draft the offensive line.
You can argue that the offensive line is what ruined Daniel Jones' tenure with the Giants.
I would say a lot of things. I would say overall he needed a perfect system though to be good. Like because here's the thing. Here's the difference between like the great quarterbacks and the good quarterbacks and the bad ones. That if you're a great quarterback under a bad system or a bad like offensive line, not a lot of weapons, you still put up good numbers. Like there's nothing there. It's like that screams like, oh, he had 15 touchdowns and 9 receptions this year just because he had a bad offensive line. It's like no. Like the guys will still put up like 25 touchdowns, 12 picks, he might have 11, but they'll put up numbers where you're like, okay, like he didn't have his year, but like he still looked competent. Like, but there was every year except for the 1 year, Daniel Jones really just looked outside of his rookie year. He had the fumbling problem, but like that year and when we made the playoffs, he just looked like he didn't know what he was doing.
I mean, look at this, Mahomes, down year, right? Check the stats. You're like, wow, like this guy was very underwhelming.
Dude, you would have thought from how people talked about him, he had a horrible year. I looked at his stats the other day and I'm like, down year, but it's not like,
dude,
it wasn't.
It was like his down year would be like,
oh my god, that would be the best year for a Giants quarterback in like the last 8 years.
But that's what I'm saying. Like his down year makes us look like
they're 15-1 down year.
I mean, 15-1 with a down year for Mahomes. You take that same season and you replicate it. That's like the best season for 15 of the NFL teams.
Yeah.
Like, it's unbelievable what a guy like that could do for your franchise, and you're not going to get that in this draft. Mm-hmm. I don't think. I mean, I'm a biased Giants fan here, and I think you
gotta wait and see. I'm not a fan of people saying, "Oh, this is good. This draft class, you want a quarterback. This is the one." I think it comes down to can you develop a quarterback, and I'm just not a fan of the argument of people saying this draft class is going to be elite.
No,
you don't know. You don't know.
I'm not
We
saying
saw-
the
we saw
class.
this
I'm
with
talking about
2020.
talent.
2020 was 2021.
2021, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence.
We went Trevor
Mac
Lawrence,
Jones.
Zach Wilson, Trey Lance.
I mean that class never amazed
And people,
me.
and
But
I'm just saying,
there's
some
no
people
reason for
label
quarterbacks to go
that.
off the start.
Some
I
people labeled that as, I'm not even just throwing this around, generational. And look, that class is horrendous. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
not a fan of people saying, this quarterback class, it's like it's whatever. It's like not really. Like, if you draft a guy you think is good, if you develop him, you put him around the right system, he could be your franchise quarterback.
I agree with that 100%. What I meant by what I said before is that the likelihood of this QB class producing the next Patrick Mahomes is like slim to none.
It's similar on every class, though.
I mean, Patrick
Patrick
Mahomes is like arguably the greatest quarterback of all.
That's my point. That right there is my point. It's not to slight this class. It's not to diss this class. It's to say Patrick Mahomes is this great. He is one of two players in the league, him and Tom Brady, that are just the GOATs of football. To get a GOAT of football in this class is unlikely. Not saying it's impossible, but very unlikely, just like it would be for any other class. But what you just said is the key here. It's the system that counts. This Dable system has to be good for Sanders or Ward or Dart, whoever we pick, whoever he wants. This Dable system has to make him grow, whoever it is. Because you also guys both know that I like Jackson Dart.
Mhm.
I think Jackson Dart is one of the best value picks in the draft. Would I pick him over Sanders? No. But would I pick him over, I don't know, a skill position player in the second round? Probably. Yeah. If we end up getting Hunter in the first round, I think Dart is a lock in the second round. In my opinion.
I agree. I said this. I said if the Giants don't go quarterback round 1, he's not falling past 34.
I mean, it has to be a lock. He has the potential. He has the intangibles. Now, if you get Sanders, obviously you forget Dart, because I do think Sanders is the best QB in the draft. But like, Dart is no pushover. He could end up being the best QB in this class. I would not be surprised. We all been saying, we all agree. He just needs that system.
Is he older?
I don't think he
Good,
is.
Okay.
He
so
was
that
at
happens a
US.
lot.
He
That
was
happens
at
a lot.
USC and he transferred. I think he's like. I don't think he's like Bo Nix old, but I think
He's 21 years old.
Yeah.
He's going to turn 22 after the draft.
He's not Bo Nix old, but he's not like crazy young either.
That's what happened with a lot of the guys, and that's why I never liked it. It's like, oh, he's a little older, so it's not taking. He's 23, he's 21. I'm like, dude, you still got him for what? Minimum, if he's good and healthy, minimum 11, 12 years.
The guy beat Georgia. The guy went to his bowl game and had 5-6 touchdowns. Like, he's 6'2", 6'3", 225, perfect build.
He's got an amazing build.
He's got a good arm. The kid's got that aura, that it factor that we're talking
He
about.
reminds me of last year's J.J. McCarthy. Now, it was a little bit different, but my point is, around this time, if you told people J.J. McCarthy would have went at like pick 11, people would be like, "You're nuts."
Well, I think the difference is that I think that Jackson Dart has an arm, and he takes shots, and J.J. McCarthy was just like a pure, just like. I feel like I was watching a Giants quarterback when I watched J.J. McCarthy. I feel like he was just like a lot of check downs, a lot of good scheming, a lot of good coaching, and like I saw that the one year with Daniel Jones, and I was just like sitting there watching. I'm just like, these guys are getting open, yeah, and then like you hit a guy on the run 10 yards on the field, and he's taken to the house. Like it doesn't impress me at all. Like you get a guy like.
But my point was that like Jackson Dart reminds me of the guy that he will even skyrocket into mid first round range.
No,
if he does good at combines and team meetings, just like JJ did.
He could be a third pick in the
matter.
draft.
After the whole combine and when he
100%.
after the combine and when he met with teams, executives were saying like, watch how high JJ's going right now, and everyone was in shock. And
Is
the
it
same thing
realistic
might happen
to
Dart.
say? Is it realistic to say that with a good combine, good team meetings, pro day, whatever you want to call it, he could go number 1 overall, number 2 overall?
I don't think he's gonna laugh them.
No.
I don't think he will. People might have him higher, but I don't think they're gonna put him like if the people have Jackson Dart higher than Sanders and Ward, I think they're gonna have them two also lower on their boards.
The highest I think he goes around that 10-20 range.
Well, no, I completely agree that this would happen. This would happen last year. This would happen all the time, right? Mac Jones, I don't think he was supposed to go in the first round that one year. Like he was supposed to go like he was in the same thing that second first, and all of a sudden, boom, was 15. Like it was all Penix last year. You saw it with Knicks last year. Knicks was people were clowning and people were like,
But this is the rare year where it worked out.
no, it did work out because those guys were just old. That's why I like those guys. Those guys were amazing passers, and you know they worked on it. They both had arms. They both took shots, and looked at them, and they're like, okay, they're good. They're just old. It's like, why not take the shot there when you need a quarterback? Like, you can't play competitive football without a quarterback. You can't forget winning. You're not gonna play competitive football without a good quarterback, and the need for this team is they can't go anywhere right now without a quarterback. Who's the quarterback going next year? I get Justin Fields, I get it, but like even the Steelers had Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. They had someone else there. Like it's always you have to have every team has a starter that they're looking at, and any team that doesn't have a starter is projected to get a quarterback in the draft because they.
I think in today's day and age, with how many injuries we've seen to quarterbacks in particular, you've got to be dumb not to have a top-notch backup.
That's why I love
to invest in a backup, a real backup, is probably one of the best things you could do if you're a real competitive team, because it doesn't throw your season away. It also doesn't throw your young players' development away.
I was just gonna say that.
For a guy like Malik Neighbors, you need to get the guy good targets, no matter what. I don't care. I was saying this to you
We were
earlier.
so lucky this year.
I don't care. I was saying this to Joe 2 weeks ago. I don't care if we pick 2 quarterbacks in the draft. I don't care if we pick 2 quarterbacks and sign one free agency.
I like either signing one for agency and drafting one, or
I like Justin Fields drafting one.
I would do
I'm
3.
fine with that.
I don't care. Like I would do is what it takes to get a QB room with the most talent possible. If that means signing Justin Fields, picking Shador, and getting Will Howard in the 5th or 6th, do it. If you like Will Howard, but you don't have a high grade on him because whatever, he doesn't have this.
I mean, realistically, like, what's the downside to it? Like, Tommy DeVito's currently QB3. All right, now Will Howard is your QB3.
I would rather take a chance on Will Howard than go into year 3 with Tommy DeVito.
Because like Tommy DeVito is kind of like a, I don't know how that happened. But Will Howard is just like.
He's a good player.
He's a good. He played well in college. You're just like, okay, like let's say an injury happened or whatever. Let's say Sanders plays his 3 years, right? Will Howard, sits behind him, right? Justin Fields is out the door now, so now Will Howard was at the QB2. The following year, they draft Sanders. Sanders goes on. Sanders is bad. They decide to move on from Sanders, right? They're not good enough to take QB that year. Okay, well, what if Will Howard plays? What if Sanders gets hurt the 1 year in that stretch? And Will Howard shows signs. Okay, then you. There's always a chance to. We've seen it with the Geno Smiths, you know what I mean, out of nowhere. These guys just they come out of nowhere.
Russ leaves, then all of a sudden Geno is the Seahawks franchise quarterback for a little
while. Darnold, and honestly, the next one that's going to be doing all that, as I think, is going to be Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's going to get a chance somewhere. I think you
got to give it 2 more years, and then I can see it.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that he's going to be he is in Darnold's position 2-3 years ago when he was with the 49ers. He's learning under Sean Payton, right? He's in a situation where he's getting valuable information from a reputable coach. He goes to a team with an injured QB. He gets an opportunity to start, like Mayfield did, like Sam did, like Geno did.
Well, let's not forget these guys. They had problems, but they just. A lot of them just need longer time to develop, but the teams can't let that happen because then they're just being horrible the whole time. But all the guys you named, Mayfield, was he first pick overall?
Mayfield was first.
Darnold, what was he?
2nd,
3rd, something like that,
second,
right?
Third. Oh, you 3rd after Barkley, right? 3rd after Barkley?
Something like that, yes. Yeah. Right there. And then Geno Smith, wasn't he drafted high?
Geno was 1st round pick, but late, 22nd maybe?
Okay.
Out of Cal?
Okay, 1st round pick.
Look at him.
Every guy you just named, they're not just these random guys. They're 1st round guys that take longer to develop, and they end up coming in. And even if they're not great quarterbacks,
Geno was a 3rd round. What was he?
Geno, he played at West Virginia, but he got drafted.
But overall, these guys are just these guys are all talented. There's a reason they were drafted.
39. Okay.
It's a top side. But again, these guys are not just guys that just come off the streets or they're not 3rd, 4th. No, these guys are 2nd round picks, 1st round picks that just got their opportunity somewhere and just developed and just.
You look at the best QBs in the league. The best QBs in the league: Mahomes, Lamar, Josh. All of them were not picked in the top 10. And Lamar was barely a 1st round pick. Was he a 1st round pick or 2nd? 1st round pick, right?
I think no, he was
32.
He was the last pick in the 1st round.
32. I mean, you look at history. History tells you to trust your gut and pick your guy. I don't care if it's Jackson Dart We swung and missed on Daniel Jones. We all know it. Gettleman trusted his gut and was wrong. But I respect him for trusting his gut. Because he could have went with Dwayne Haskins, that pick, who was the higher rated player. And again, if you look at the careers, the football careers of Dwayne Haskins and Daniel Jones, that was a good pick. Just comparing the two players. You trust your gut. Sometimes you're wrong. I believe in this regime to trust their gut in a QB. If that is Jackson Dart or the mystery of Jalen Milroe, do it. Don't pick Sanders if you're not 100% confident. Don't pick Ward if you're not 100% confident. If you like Milroe, if you look at this guy, if they love him, I would get him. I don't get him at 3. I trade down. I get stacked picks up because Milroe ain't going in the top 10.
He's not. Milroe's not going in the first round. So if anything, if you want to get that 5th-year option, there's definitely teams
Here's my thing, dude.
around
You never know, though, dude. Like, Penix and Nix were not supposed to go in the first round at all.
Milroe's a little lower.
I think
he is a little lower, but also like at the same time, like it just happens. Like teams are on the board there, and they're like especially teams taking the 15th spot, right? They're most of the teams, they were good last year. They had everything set up except their quarterback, right? Look at other teams, like who was in there? Jets are there. Dolphins at this point. Like
are the Vikings in this situation now?
No. McCarthy.
Steelers.
Steelers could be in it. Like you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be surprised if they took a shot on one of those guys. Like it wouldn't surprise me at all because it's just like, we have our pick here. He's not going to be there our back pick. It's not the crazy reach in the world. We need a quarterback. Quarterbacks go higher just because of the position value. That's where you take them.
I mean, Jalen Milroe could be the surprise of this draft. I'm not a big fan of his. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of work to be done there. But, like, I would not be surprised if someone falls in love with him and reaches for him. Mm-hmm. Because you're getting a guy with crazy athleticism who obviously needs to sit a year. And plenty of places have that option for him to sit a year. Mm-hmm. If you sign Justin Fields, if the Giants sign Justin Fields, and we want to sit our QB year 1, if that's what we want to do, then pick Travis Hunter and go get Milroe in the 2nd round. Or trade down under the 3 picks, stack picks, and go get, maybe you'll have 2 second-rounders. Get your guy in the 2nd round. You have to play this smart because now you're looking at a situation where you could be stuck with a guy for 5 years that you don't really like. So just, in this case, swing for the fences. If you miss, whatever. But at least you tried. You cannot go out of the draft without a QB.
Listen, long story short, the way I would describe this offseason is we all agree they 100% need to draft a quarterback in this draft.
Yeah.
Don't know where, don't know who, needs to happen. You need to sign a QB in free agency. That's another thing. You need to completely rebuild this CB core. You need to add more talent at other positions. I'm talking interior O-line. I'm talking tight end, wide receiver 2, D tackle 2, things like that. I think, in general, this is just going to be where the Giants are in the draft and them potentially having to be in a spot where they can pick a quarterback at 3. I think this is going to be the biggest offseason. I don't even know since when for the Giants.
It's the biggest offseason of all time. In my opinion.
This is like, especially now that the Commanders are good. This is the biggest offseason in forever for the Giants.
I think of all time. The argument can be made. This is your 100th season. You are the laughing stock of the league. You lost the 2 faces of your franchise.
Your coaches are on the way out the door if they don't do well.
Your coaches are out the door.
Your GM.
And you averaged 16 points per game last year. You dang near lost every home game. Okay? Inexcusable. You're the only New York team left, besides the Jets, that stink. Even the Knicks figured it out. The Knicks figured it out. The Mets figured it out. The Giants are the only ones hanging around. Figure it out. You have one chance to get this right. And then everybody's gone. If you fail, you're gone. These guys have to start coaching, managing, playing like their lives and their jobs are on the line.
Dable and Shane, this is like, who knows if Dable gets another head coach job? Who knows if Joe Shane's the GM again? I mean, they need to put their everything into this offseason. Their last bit of it, free agency. they gotta, in my opinion, even in free agency, I don't want them to go out there and have a crazy spending spree. I want you to bring in the right guys. But at the same time, I don't want you to be afraid. My point is, this past offseason, they were interested in a guy like Robert Hunt, but he was making a little bit too much money for him. If you feel like there's a guy out there that's young, he fits your team, but it might cost a little bit too much, that's a guy I want you to go get. You settle for John Runyon. You could have got Hunt, who had a great season on the Panthers.
That's one thing I have noticed is they just settle. It's always been just
whenever
I see a big name guy,
settle.
Every time I see a big name guy, it's always just like, all right, this guy wants to switch one. Just go for the second best option. Which second best option is like first, second, right? John Runyon's sitting there, we're just like, bro, like top 100 free agents. He was like 89. Hunt was like top 15. You're just like, it's a huge drop off. It's like, dude, Hunt is like guaranteed good. Runyon's kind of like he's been okay. Let's take a chance. Like, there's no more chances. You gotta bring in guys that are proven.
This all season, there's zero chances.
You gotta bring in guys that
there's
like
a guy
you sit there.
Gotta go get him.
Devin Singletary. The Devin Singletary signing was like that. Really confused me.
I didn't really mind it. I really don't. They went with the approach that they didn't want to pay top dollar for a running back.
We drafted him.
But they did that. They drafted after they signed him, so obviously they didn't know Tracy was gonna be there. They were probably drafted no matter what. But then Tracy kind of just took off. Again, that's what happens sometimes. Like, he just took off. If he didn't take off, Singletary wasn't even playing like the worst ball in the world either. It just kind of like Tracy was just so much better than him that they were just like,
I always go back to the conversation we had last week. But I'm just saying, I'll just put it out there. I mean,
don't even say it. We are not getting into this again.
You lose Saquon Barkley.
No.
You lose Saquon Barkley.
We're not doing this. Me and Curtis already stopped. We're not doing this.
I mean, listen, you lose Saquon. It's only $13.5 million.
All I'm going to say is I'm doing that. I'm still.
Well, I'm not even saying about the trade argument. The trade argument is one thing, but all I'm saying is Saquon Barkley's $13.5 million.
Well, you offered that to him like 3 times. They said no, so it's like, well, what are you going to do?
But this particular offseason, we saw how it shaped up on Hard Knocks. Obviously, Saquon wanted out. We all know this, but I would have still put that offer in for $13.5 million. If he says no, that's on him. But at least you had that offer in, because now you look a little bit less cheap.
Do not know why they even filled Hard Knocks.
And this is my point. It was so dumb because now Shane, all the media reports about
nothing was ever really talked. This would be talked about, but it wouldn't be as talked about. It would have looked at the Giants and not the GM. And it's been specifically, everyone knows who the Giants GM is now. It
was a personal attack on him. The whole Hard Knocks film was a personal attack on him. You look at that. You look at even the reports that came out with the media about him talking crazy to Nick McLeod's manager.
Deserved.
I mean, it's become a clown show over there. Like, you can't let that happen. If you just offered your face of the franchise $13.5 million, it's not like Juan Soto money. It's $13.5 million.
Listen,
you would have avoided a lot of bad press.
With everything that has come out about Joe Shane, him getting another year, he should be eternally grateful to John Mara, because if Mara fired him, they will like to see him getting another head coaching job. I don't think Joe Shane gets another GM job.
Where is he going to get a job?
Or even in the future, because I'm saying with some of the moves he's made, paying Daniel Jones, the stuff that's come out on Hard Knocks with Saquon or with Nick McLeod's agent, I don't know if the team would hire him again. So, like I said, this is a huge offseason for Daboll, but Joe Shane is constructing this roster. This is the biggest offseason just for everybody and everything. From top to bottom, this is a big season, a big offseason. There's literally no other way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, Shane is just, it's like, I don't know why they wanted, they had so many moves they had to make. If they went into that knowing that they probably weren't, there was a chance they wouldn't get back, why would you ever do Hard Knocks? Like,
but that's
why
my
would
point.
you do that?
It's like the Yankees, right?
Now it just made us
going on a version of Hard Knocks and losing Juan Soto.
That's exactly what it is.
Why would you do that?
You look at the Yankees, they're like, oh, the Yankees offered them, it was a completely different story. But at the end of the day, it's like, what if they went negotiations? What if they were in the room and then they're like, yeah, we're not doing the extra $5 million, right? And then all of a sudden, people are like, they wouldn't pay $5 million for Juan Soto. Every home run Juan Soto hits, you just see a clip coming.
But here's my point, Curtis. You look at the Yankees. They put an offer in for Juan Soto. Everybody knows.
It's a little different.
That's.
But it's a little different, yes. But it's the same in one sense. He was the face of the franchise, going to a rival. You are essentially letting him go, right, for a little bit more money. Saquon, we offered him 13.5. I think he went to Philly for 14 or 14.5. It's a little bit more. You're letting him go to a rival. You're letting your face of the franchise go. In both situations, you're taking that risk, right? The only difference is that the Yankees offered an astronomical amount of money, and when he leaves, everybody says the Yankees gave it their best shot. They really did put their best foot forward. But now look at the Giants situation. Everybody undervalued the running back market. Fair. But you don't just not offer your guy any money.
I do agree.
You give him something. Give him an offer. Don't give him that same old
You know what that
story.
is?
Go and test the market. That's just lame. He's your guy.
I wasn't, obviously, like we had this discussion a few days ago, but I do agree with you that they should have put an offer in on Saquon or just in general. And I think that goes to show, like what we've seen, it's a little bit, actually very different, but when Nick McLeod, him cursing and losing his shit on the phone, that is the stubbornness of Joe Schoen saying, hey, we offered you this money in the past. Well, your fault, basically, and saying you can leave. We're not offering you. That's just the stubbornness. And like I said, that needs to change. I mean, and I think he will change after that. All this shit came out with Hard Knocks and with Nick McLeod's agent. I think he will change, but you can't keep doing that because again, players. You got to get players to sign with the New York Giants.
If you
You're
want
not
to
going to attract free agents like that. I tell you that right now.
That's why it scares me.
There's no way. There's nobody that's coming to save the Giants.
Doesn't matter
Nobody's
how bad
coming
your
to
team
save us.
is. It's literally if your GM is good negotiations, they look at their team like I want to play under that head coach. That's really all you need. But despite the record, that's the main thing they look at. Okay, and when you look at from the top, your GM, you're just like everyone's seen that now. Everyone's seen the Hard Knocks, and people are reading out the article, and they're just like. Especially more like a veteran under that too. Like
Exactly.
for your deal, it's like, oh, I
100%.
know I'm gonna.
That's why money's gonna be a big part of it. Like Giants might have to overpay by like 2 or something mil
I don't
for
care if they
some of these
overpay.
guys.
If they overpay for someone that's, like, again. Like,
But my point is, Joe Schoen and Brian Dable, mainly Joe Schoen, need to prove to players and agents this offseason that he's a changed man. So shit does not happen like that again, and so players can want to come
I just get
to the
scared.
Giants.
That's not like a skill thing. That's just like a personal issue that he has. Like you know what I mean? Like
I don't know. Those reports could get blown out of reports.
no, they completely can. And I would be
Yeah.
surprised if the Nick McLeod report got absolutely blown out of proportion. I mean, just like over the top because. Nick McLeod probably was like, "Oh, this is something I want to jump on." Like, and then
Well, he has nothing to lose. He has nothing to lose.
this guy's everything to lose.
Yeah. Well, my one thing I wanted to mention about free agency is that New York teams in general have to realize that this whole idea of playing in New York is slowly
It doesn't
dying.
exist. No, not slowly dying. It doesn't
It's-
exist. First of all, the team doesn't even play in New York. Okay. Second of all, the team's been a shit
Well,
show.
that's for I'm saying in New York sports in general.
Oh no, it
I
doesn't.
mean,
100%.
it's slowly dying down. I mean, we just watched Sasaki go to the Dodgers, right? Hate to bring up baseball in the middle of a football
But
debate,
that would
but
never happen 20 years
it
ago.
would never happen.
Never.
Not a chance. And I think it's happening more and more. A lot of guys are going out to the West Coast, even to small market teams. Small market teams are putting out big offers for guys in all leagues now. The New York teams have to start realizing that it's not enough to just say, "Hey, we're a New York team. Come play for us because we got a
I
big
feel like
market."
it's more of like we're New York. We have to offer you more. We have to. That's what I look at. Look at these teams that are like, okay, you're from New York. You should be giving me more money.
Exactly.
You're not giving me
It's
more
a
money. I'll go
bias.
somewhere else.
It's a double standard.
It
And
is.
New York teams have to realize that they have to play hardball. They have to get up in these negotiations because it's not enough. It's not enough to say that you are the New York team anymore. Because the guy who offers you slightly more money on a small market team, these guys are looking for money, dollars and cents. They're leaving good programs to get paid more by bad teams.
I agree with you somewhat. I think that is definitely like less. I'm saying like people just strictly focusing on like, oh, it's New York. But I think there is still players that value that because obviously if you're a bigger name player, playing in New York not only means a lot, just you're playing in New York, but
I
also
agree.
other opportunities. I'm saying.
I personally believe that. That's what I personally
But
believe.
these guys
I
are
would
working.
never pass up an opportunity to play in Los Angeles or New York, because those are the two biggest markets in the United States. Now, with that being said, there are some factors outside of the game, that are playing in factor. Taxes, property,
Look at the
property,
Giants.
housing costs. These players are smartening up. They go to these Florida teams. They go to Texas teams because they know they're paying less taxes. They're paying less for their homes. They're paying less for their goods. These are real issues that players are starting to look at. Tyreek Hill, the famous Tyreek Hill story. He chose the Dolphins over the Jets because of property taxes.
When it's a real
real
understand.
thing.
People are like, oh, they offered less. It's like they offered less because they get the option to offer less because you're getting taxed more over here. There's nothing enticing about New York in football anymore. Okay, you play shitty MetLife. You're not even playing New York. You're playing New Jersey.
Exactly.
The teams are horrible. Those are the three biggest things: record, taxes, stadium, coaching.
Yeah.
They all have none of those. They all have none of those.
Culture. There's no culture.
There's nothing.
That New York culture is completely gone. You need to completely reestablish that if you want to be considered New York culture. I'm talking about hard nose.
Yeah, 2022 was back, but now we lost it again. You gotta reestablish it, and this time you gotta keep it once and for all.
I don't even know if we really necessarily had it. I say we got a glimpse of it. A glimpse. I'm talking about hard-nosed football. 2007, 2011 Giants. That's real hard-nosed Giants football. I don't look at that 22 team and say 2007
That
Giants.
also goes to show. Look at those Super Bowl teams. We need more dogs. We need more gritty guys. Like I know some people, like even myself included. Like I'm just saying, a guy like George Pickens. I mean, we need some of that mentality in the locker room. We need
Could have had him.
We could
have had him.
But I'm just saying we need guys that they like our receiver. I want the ball. I want the ball. I don't want to lose. I'm locked in. I'm a competitor. I'm gonna talk shit.
That's what I always liked about the receivers is like a lot of them look at they're like, oh, they're divas. They are divas. But the problem with receivers is that receivers they don't get I can beat a guy deep, and I might get nothing out of the play because I didn't get the ball. Like these guys are complete competitors, and it just like they're looked at so differently because like. For example, like Devontae Adams, we saw a bunch of clips over in the last couple of years, just being like upset over hospital balls, upset over not getting the ball, upset over because like, dude, you're shit talking someone the whole entire game who you're lined up against. You beat him in a match, but you got nothing to show for it. What do you have?
Yeah, you don't get the ball.
Was your PFF grade go up? Like you know what I mean? You got nothing out of the play. There's nothing that's impacting the game right there because you didn't get the ball.
It also doesn't help your negotiations.
And also doesn't help your chemistry with your team because now you're going back to your quarterback like, dude, what are you doing? Like I'm open. Like what? Like and then. They're looked at this way, but you need guys that are like not okay with just like, yeah, I didn't get the ball today. No, like I want my quarterback. Sometimes I want them sitting there and be like, if you're a good receiver, you should go in there. You should be like, give me the ball.
Not even, but that's the thing. I agree with you, but it's not even like wide receiver in general. We need guys that have that dog mentality.
Mm-hmm.
We need it on the O line. We have. I feel like we have it on the D line.
You need it mostly on your offensive line, D line. Those are the guys that.
Those
are the guys that are literally doing most of the aggressive.
I want a corner that could just like 10 toes down, go up against anybody in the league, talk their crap, talk smack. I want a guy, a real alpha.
That's why
corner.
I'm not gonna lie. I know. I like I said at pick 3. If Sanders or Ward is there, I'm 100% picking them. But Travis Hunter, he represents what we are talking about currently. He's that dog. He's gonna talk shit. He's gonna lock a guy down. And then he'll go on the other end. He'll play wide receiver and talk this shit again. That's the type of guy we need. That's why I'm perfectly fine with quarterback or taking Travis Hunter. We need guys with a dog mentality. And Giants always say that. I mean, they even made shirts that said dog on them. Yeah, you have the shirt that says dog, but are you really a dog, or are you just saying you are?
Remember those like 2017 Yankees?
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
2017 Yankees, or was it 2019? Dude, they did like the half thumbs. Oh, and Aaron Boone went out there, and he's like, I got some savages in that box. That team was a bunch of thugs. That team was a bunch of just like animals. That just like, and it just like stuff like that, like those moments like that, like they build your team like up in culture. Your team gets behind those guys. Like it's just like you need like they have no culture.
I think the Giants need to take a serious play out of the Yankees playbook and start respecting the veterans.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Yankees do actually a little bit. They respect the veterans a little too much in some cases, like your DJ LeMahieu's and your Anthony Rizzo.
But think about it, that's how other teams look at you, though. You know what I mean? Even if it doesn't, forget the player that you're respecting. Other veterans are like, okay, DJ LeMahieu's been on the roster for how long? And should he be on the roster? Probably not. Why is he on the roster? That's that. They're like, okay, they're respected over there. So now other guys are looking at that, and then they come
their
over.
free agents are like, listen, the Yankees treat their vets well. and that is how they attract people to come to the team. That Yankee culture, they still cherish that. Actually, I've really believed that. And the Giants, when you look at that Giants pride thing,
But I
doesn't
have a
even mean
question.
anything
I have a question. To what extent are we talking about? Because a lot of players say that the Giants, towards them and their families, I'm saying what John Mara has built, they absolutely love it. And
I'm not talking about families because every
well,
organization is respectful.
Well,
towards families.
my point is, I'm saying towards the vets. I mean, guys who are there for a long time during their career. Like,
I'm saying that a guy like Dexter Lawrence should be kept happy. A guy like Andrew Thomas should be kept happy. A guy like Brian Burns, for the rest of his Giants tenure, if all goes well, should be kept happy. Bobby Okereke, what he's done, should be kept happy. You got guys on this team that are locker room cornerstones, and those guys are paid well, and they're compensated well. And I get it that you have good family services, whatever, good family relationships, but there is a certain respect that those guys have to be shown. Before a decision is made, those guys have to be on board. Like this Daniel Jones cut. We all knew it was going to happen.
mm-hmm.
We all knew it was going to happen. It was inevitable. But if Dex, Bobby, Brian, all these guys we just named, were all like, no, why, if they're all like, why are we cutting Danny? Why would you cut Danny? And again, I am not pro Daniel Jones. There is no way I wanted him back this year. No way.
Mm-hmm.
But you could have cut him right now. It would
have made a difference mid-season or now.
It would have been the same thing. You could have gone through the whole season and you could have cut him right now.
They should have benched him for a game, and then when they played so bad the next game, they should have started him again. Just let the season go how it goes, and then you're not only, doesn't matter, screw the record, everything. You're at least keeping the locker room intact. 'Cause it was very visible that the team loved Daniel Jones. So you take someone that they love, right, no matter how bad he's playing, and you just cut him, right? Now I understand it was mutual and it was more like that, but it's you benched him and he wanted out and you did nothing. You were just like, okay.
And not only that, you tarred and feathered him. You basically dragged his name through the mud. You made him look stupid. You didn't stick by your guy. I understand we gave him 6 years to prove himself, but in his last moments as a Giant, you chose to have him go out like this. That is a bad example for incoming free agents. It's a bad look for the rest of the league. It's a bad look to your vets. You let Daniel Jones finish the season on the roster, whether it's on the bench or as a starter, but you cannot cut him. You can't.
Okay, well, listen. I will say this. They were going to keep him. They were going to keep him on the roster, just they weren't going to start him. Daniel Jones was the one that asked to be cut.
In that case,
I don't really
that's
fault
okay.
him for
But
that.
still, I would have Dexter Lawrence on page with the benching before anything else.
I totally agree. It shouldn't have been caught by surprise when they're all against it.
Yeah.
It was it should have been all right, we're gonna do this. We're gonna bench him now. If he wants out though, we're gonna let him go. And everyone should be okay, that makes sense.
The franchise players and the captains, I think Shane and Dable should be in more communication with them.
They should get a say with what happens. They generally should, because they are the guys. Those guys are playing next to them, and they probably have a good understanding of what's best for the team. Right?
They have an understanding of what's good in the locker room.
Exactly. So
nobody knows better than them.
Exactly. So why are we going to sit here and act like the GM knows a lot of stuff, but doesn't know everything? Why are you not bringing in your best player, your team captain, the guy that you have had on this team for the last 5-6 years, and not being like, what do you think we should do here?
Well, not to mention you let all your veteran presence go in last year's free agency class.
I mean, Saquon, McKinney, Leonard Williams.
That's the part I do agree with.
Sterling Shepard.
Shepard too.
I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, again, that's zero production, but you would let him go to Tampa.
Yeah, well, Shepard was kind of on he kind of was a little more on the I'm retiring, kind of get somewhere else, and the Giants were kind of they had him on the roster for a long time. He was a great year round, but he went out in a great way. It was a lot different. There's no bad blood between them.
He's probably gonna come when he retires. He's probably gonna come back as a receivers coach or something.
That went up fine. But I didn't agree with overall the amount of what you said. The player, if you just gave me those players and you said this, that, for the Brian Burns, for McKinney and Barkley, I would have said yes. If you add in the fact that we traded and let go 3 captains within an offseason, we just our captain, we don't have guys that are captains forever. Like
you
I mean,
don't
seriously.
have a single one that's outside of Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas. You don't have a Giants drafted captain where you're like, this is the guy. You just don't have it. You had one in Saquon. You had one in McKinney. McKinney was overpriced. We completely understand that. But you look at Saquon, okay, $13.5 million for a captain that you drafted and you invested all that time, all that energy in. He took you to the playoff once. To me, it's a no-brainer. I understand the running back market and all that, but we were going to suck regardless. That's the bottom line. We were going to be trash no matter what. And you knew that Danny was not going to be this long-term guy.
I mean,
You knew it.
Just looking at it, just think of it like this: Saquon's making 13 mil. You signed Singletary for 6, so just remove that. There's 7 mil left. You signed Drew Lock for 4. You got 3 mil left. You very easily have 3 mil, and if not, you could restructure someone's contract and create 5 to 10 mil.
And someone would absolutely be willing to do that to let Saquon come back.
Yes.
I think that what happened was that they told him first test the free agency market and come back to us, which in some cases, if you're kind of more like on the respected side of things, the player will do that. I know that happened with like Aaron Judge, right? Aaron did with San Francisco, came back, said match his offer, I'll be the Yankee. That's what happened. Here, it just seemed like if they knew that Saquon, I guarantee it was not a situation where they were like, he's going to the Eagles, are you matching this offer? And they just like, Shane's like, no. Because they all said they don't want to see him go to the Eagles. And then, like, it's not even, it was part, the main part probably was,
steal. You let him steal.
I would be fine if Saquon went anywhere else. But you let him go to a team that we knew if they got a top running back with their offensive system, with their offensive line, it'd be a problem. And you sat there, and if they got that offer back, I'd be extremely mad if I heard that they got that offer back and they were just like, yeah, $13.5 million, or he goes to the Eagles. But you match it in there. It's like, I would personally match it if I got told that. But you can't tell someone who you know, it's like, oh, he's looking at the Eagles, he played at Penn State, he's from around there, and you're gonna sit there and be like, he's testing the market. Chicago, Philadelphia, you should probably, give him a call and, up or offer a little bit. Like,
you should be willing to pay the extra money just so he doesn't play in Philly. You know Philly's gonna wipe you if they get him.
Like, again, McKinney went to the Packers. Let's say you switch the roles. McKinney went to the Eagles, and McKinney was doing this well with the Eagles. If you talked about around kind of the same thing, because it'd be like they let him go to the Eagles. Like, again, a team that they play against that they hate, and that's when the rivalry is just kind of like not there anymore either with sports. Like, first of all, if the rivalry existed, Saquon would have never even talked to the Eagles.
Yeah. Like many of the other Giants that we've seen come out and publicly said that they would
publicly say that they hate the Eagles with everything inside of them.
Tiki Barber, remember that beef for like 2 weeks?
That's
Saquon and Tiki Barber. Yeah. I mean, listen, none of the ex-Giants that we all grew up loving watching would have done what Saquon did.
But that's the thing, Curtis is right. Rivalries aren't what they used to be, and at the same time, I think players, you need to start, how do I say it, respecting your team, I guess, in the sense where, like you said, like Tiki Barber, like you would have never played for the Eagles. We need more guys like that at the same time, though.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just my big thing was like my problem with, like, let's say like Galen Jones left and it was just a different thing, right? Let's say he left that offseason and he went to, let's just say somebody went to the Eagles somehow, like he was able to be the starting quarterback and he played this well. It's like it would look differently because, like, Saquon, I feel like they always tried to build something for Saquon. They drafted Thomas, they drafted Neal. I think that same year did they sign Soldier in 2018?
They signed Soldier in 2018.
Okay, so they signed a tackle too, right? They drafted a center in the second round. They drafted multiple guards in the third round. Will Hernandez. Like, these guys, like they tried on so many offensive linemen for this guy and they didn't work out. But like there was never like a situation where it's like how, like, for example, Aaron Rodgers went out when they're like, oh, they never gave him. He had Devontae Adams. But he never had another option, and they never tried to get another option.
Or it's also like, look how Andrew Luck went out. Like, that GM never gave him any O-line help or just any help in general.
Even just help, just the attempt would make me feel better.
Well, you look at that whole situation. Like, when Odell left, right, when we traded Odell Beckham away, everybody was upset. I was distraught. I was like, that's like my favorite player growing up, right? But now we look at that deal now, in hindsight. All right, you got Jabril Peppers. He was good for a few years. You got the pick that led to Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah, you got the whole thing.
Now you're looking at that and you're like, oh man, we won that deal.
Not even close.
Not even close.
Not
We
even
won
close.
that deal. So that's like the pain's gone. You look at Saquon, you didn't get nothing. You didn't even get a comp pick.
That's why I agree
You
with
got
you. I
nothing.
never understood why people, like, if you knew that there was a chance that he would have left in the offseason, I said the same thing with McKinney. If you're having a bad year, you're looking at it, obviously you're going to be traded at the deadline. We're not doing anything. This guy's looking at other teams. He's declining our $14.5 million offer to go somewhere else. We're not willing to pay more than that. We should probably trade him.
You don't think that anybody in the league would have given a 5th round pick for Barkley?
You told me the Eagles,
wouldn't
Eagles
have.
last year wouldn't have done it?
Yeah, and you don't think anybody in the league would have done it?
If Giants were calling teams and saying Saquon for a third right now, teams would 100% do it.
What about McKinney? There were plenty of playoff teams that were in need of a safety for that last push over the finish line,
Dude,
right?
even again, these guys, even third or second, it just tells us, okay, you weren't going to sign him back. Okay, understandable. You knew the market was going to be too high. I get the whole, like, again, but then there is the thing of respect. You know, like, okay, then what do you do?
Respect
Then you
and
would have
the
shipped
locker
off both
room.
your captains. You know, then
Yeah.
it just turns to a Madden franchise at that point.
Yeah.
Then it kind of turns into that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
But
a-
at some
it's a
point,
rough
you come
spot.
to agreement where like you got to be with these guys in mid-season. Be like, listen, just strict. Like, are you going to be looking at other places? Do you want more than this? Like, we're probably not going to be able to pay you that much money. Would you rather go this place? Would you rather go to a contender right now? Like, we could trade you for a contender right now.
And then I would tell, and then if they say, you know, like ship me off, then I would tell the captains, like, listen, we tried, we said this is what we pay, they were looking elsewhere, so the captains feel like, at least you didn't like, not like a Saquon thing where it's like, yeah, we didn't even try to offer or anything.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
look
you
what
see this all
happened
the
now.
time.
Now we lost them both. We got no comp for it back. Our vets feel
I think
respected.
we're getting a McKinney comp, but either way, like a fourth round pick, it's like.
Well, my thing is that you look at the McKinney deal again. I am completely okay with letting McKinney walk for that contract. I would not have paid him that money, but Saquon is your face of the
He
team.
was face.
He's the face of the team, and when the Hard Knocks thing came out, and Mara said he would have trouble losing, he would lose sleep if he went to the Eagles. Originally, I was like, oh my god, this guy is so corny. Like, does he not understand that running back is the least valuable position in football?
But he was with everything included, with the face of the franchise, with the media, with the fans, he was 100% valid with that.
Because
Conte's 27.
everyone knew that if he signed with the Eagles, he would not have a great year. He would have a historical year. Everyone knew it. I knew it. I was with my friends down by Philly, and I told them we already made the playoffs. Said if Saquon put on 1,400, 1,500 yards with the Giants, if he goes to Philly, he's the most pound in football. If he goes there, he would showcase it, and he would 100% be the best. He'd break records, and he goes there, and immediately.
Well, and it was the most obvious thing. Like,
I saw it
It
right away. When I knew he wasn't going to the Giants, I knew immediately he was going to the Eagles. Penn State, he had interest in the team, so clearly he had interest in them, right? That means he's clearly just being like, all right, screw the whole rivalry thing, right? So clearly he has a big interest in the team. And then he played at Penn State. You know, is he from around Philly?
yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's from around Philly. He played at Penn State. They're willing to pay the money. He's behind the best offensive line in football.
Not
I mean,
not
it
gonna lie,
was-
even if the Giants offered him, I don't think he was gonna come.
I don't think he was going to come back.
Well, I mean, unless they gave him that Godfather offer.
If
It would
they
have took like $60 million, I think.
I think personally,
like you
he
heard
would've-
how he was on the phone with like Joe Shane and stuff. Even before they discussed contract, you could tell he like
$14.5 million.
he
Right.
hated that guy. I really wonder what happened in the negotiations before that point. Because it didn't sound like he had much respect for Shane in any of those
No,
conversations.
it sounded like he was there and he was just like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm going to get back to you. Like, it kind of felt like one of those guys that, you know, you see the phone ring, you're like, oh, him again. You know what I mean? Like, you're just like, oh, okay.
I would love to see what took place. And
You know,
That story will come out, I can guarantee you.
the minute he retires, it'll
very-
be a big story.
yeah.
30 for 30.
Not even retired, even after the season. I can see after the season, like, season's over, all season comes, people are going to be asking what happened with this.
Can
and
you
then-
imagine if they win the Super Bowl with Saquon?
Everything's gonna come out. Everything.
If they would, like, again, like, that's like worst nightmare for
Yeah,
me.
we-
I don't think it'll happen because I don't think Hurts is good enough to win it for them this
I
year.
agree.
But if they can somehow go on a run, because they have the defense, they have Saquon, they have the line to do it. Man, we're in a bad spot. I mean, talk about the cherry on top to watch him get a ring.
That is,
I mean,
no, it's absolute rock bottom. There is no other thing that you can tell me is somewhat worse. I don't care how they won 0 games in the season. You won 3 games. You don't even have the number 1 overall pick winning 3 games. Okay. You let your captains walk. You traded your other captain. The other captain went to your rival. He had a historical season. It's all documented on Hard Knocks. You don't have a quarterback right now. You have no direct. No one knows the direction they're even going in. Your GMs and coaches are on the way out. Like, there's nothing that's like sitting there like, oh, we got Malik Davis.
Well,
we got a good defense.
Like I tell all my friends, and I've told you guys before, if you're trying to watch good sports, turn on the Knicks, turn on the Yankees, or you can even turn on the Mets now. Don't watch Giants or Jets football if you're in New York.
All you gotta do for the Giants season is just watch the first game of the year. You know exactly how it goes.
Don't need to watch.
The last 2 times the Giants made the playoffs, they won their opening games. Every other season, they lost.
I mean, you don't even need to bother watching a game past game 3 at this point.
No, you don't. I watched the first game. I saw them get blown out by the time we thought the Vikings were really bad. But again, every year the Giants have made the playoffs in the last since they won the Super Bowl, they always won the first game. Every season they did make the playoffs, they always lost the first game. And I watched the first game. The 1 year in 2022 when they won off the field goal and everything, Brian Dable's first game coaching, I was like, dude, this season's going to be good. Like, you just tell. When I watched the first season, you just see it. The disaster, the 40-0 the year before. Then you see this season. The Vikings come in and we're getting booed off at halftime.
I mean that going back to that win on that field goal, when that happened, I mean, you look at the depth chart of that team on day 1. Man, that's a lot worse than what we got now.
That team's ranked 4 wins.
I mean, that team's depth chart, if you compare it to this team's depth chart, you would swear this one's the one that went to the playoffs.
You would.
It's a good team. You just need a few more guys to get you that, 9-win pump. That 9 win.
I think we undervalued that defense, though. That defense was overall top to bottom. You had 2 guys that are... Julian Love made the Pro Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Jeremy make the Pro Bowl?
Yeah.
2 Pro Bowls. He's Leonard Williams.
Well, he got hurt, but he was in the
Not with the Giants, but they were in the Pro Bowl.
Leonard Williams the Pro Bowl?
Yes.
Did he?
Leonard Williams.
Are you talking about in the 2022 season?
No, right now.
Oh, right now? Leonard Williams made
the Pro Bowl.
I think he's made a Pro Bowl.
He made it this year.
Okay. So now you have 2 Pro Bowl safeties that left. You have a Pro Bowl guy, Dexter Lawrence. Yep. We'll go over to.
I still think
Kayvon's
a good
bad.
player.
Kayvon had a good season.
The linebackers, we had no Mike linebacker.
Yeah, we had no linebacker.
We had the corners were still suspect. I mean, I know.
No, you're right. But
look at the overall pieces: Love, McKinney, Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, Kayvon. Right there, that core 5 are, if anything, 5. All of them are 5 Pro Bowlers.
Yeah, but you look at that, and I 100% agree with you. Like, that team was much better than.
Dory Jackson also had a great year, also.
Yes.
But you look at this team, we got the core 5 too. Like, it's, you have Lawrence, Burns. I mean, Kayvon has to take that step up. Bobby, Micah McFadden.
No, I agree. The defense was good. Just there were so many, like, when it came down to the playoffs, right? And you played the Vikings. What was the one guy you really had to stop?
Justin Jefferson.
And what did they do? You put McKinney and Adoree on him. What would they do right now with that? What would they do right now? Deontay Banks, Tyler Newton. I mean, it's just a complete change of everything. Like, it just doesn't matter what you do, you're not stopping that.
You're not. You need to get your next Janoris Jenkins type signing.
Mm-hmm.
You need to. I mean, it's hard to replicate, but they did it with Bradbury for a little bit. They did it with Jenkins, like I said. They did it with Adoree. They need to go out and get their next corner that can be elite for the next 2-3 years. And they've been pretty good at that historically. I have to say, the Giants signing cornerbacks haven't had that much struggles. They've had a little bit of struggles drafting cornerbacks.
Adoree was good. Like, I really didn't have a problem with Adoree.
Adoree had his moments.
Adoree also wasn't even bad at all this
Adoree
year.
had his moments.
He was good in 2022. He was great. I wouldn't put him in kind of greater. Like, I mean, there was nothing where
in 22 he was great.
Yeah, like
top 15, top 20.
He was up there. Like, he was very good. Like, again, but those teams.
Bradbury.
Now I'm thinking about it. Let's think about it. The teams that went to the playoffs. What do they have? Their offensive line was stable. Okay, they had like a pass rush. Okay, and they had an elite corner. You had Janoris Jenkins 2016. You shut down their best guy.
That was
the best corner season I've seen as a fan
in
a while. I mean,
time.
That dude.
Corey Webster couldn't even.
No, dude. Janoris Jenkins, like that season, Janoris Jenkins was just like, dude. He held Des Bryant to like 2 catches for like 30 yards and a fumble lost in 2 games.
And let's give some love to Rogers Cromartie.
Oh, of course, I always give love.
DRC, shout out DRC. If you're watching this, DRC, just know we appreciate you. That season from DRC was awesome.
Dude, that team.
When he got that pick to seal not even our season, because we were in clinch
Washington's, yeah.
seal Washington season, I was like,
That was.
I mean, you need something like
That season would always like even as a young kid, like that was one of like second or third or like season like actually watching the Giants, and like I was sitting there, I was just like, dude, like I remember every game visibly, what happened in each one. I remember like
JPP's
JPP, dude. Oh my
fumble
god.
six. Was it pick six or fumble
First
six?
Green Bay?
No, against the Browns. Remember the 0
that was the
15,
Browns
0
one.
16 Browns?
Oh my dude, yes.
Josh McCown, I remember, is like in the pocket and he just gets absolutely clobbered. JPP takes it to the house.
I actually have a mock draft idea. Okay, let me hear you out. I've actually presented this idea to you. Okay, hear me out. Go to free agency. You sign Justin Fields. You go to the draft. You trade down with the team. You get a bunch of picks, a lot of picks. All right, Travis Hunt. Let's say Shador and Travis Hunter on the board. Actually, that probably wouldn't happen.
I mean, I think it's possible.
No, it's possible.
Ken Ward
Abdul
1,
Carter.
Abdul Carter 2.
Okay, yeah. So let's say that or Abdul Carter's on the board. Teams need an edge rusher, right? And then like okay, right. But more importantly, a quarterback's on the board. You know, teams will give up a lot for a quarterback. Trade down with like Jets.
At 9.
You get a bunch of picks, a bunch for the following next year, right? You trade down there, or you even trade down even a little smaller. Someone wants to take an edge, whatever. End of the day, let's say you take Will Johnson, right? Okay, Will Johnson, that's your cornerback for the future. Let's say for you to see you also, let's say you get Godwin, or you go one side, you get Godwin, or you go and you get Reed, right? We go in the second round, whatever, wide receiver 2, whatever. Next season, Justin Fields doesn't work out, okay, works out, great. Say it doesn't work out. All those picks, they didn't work out, so clearly your team's not good. Didn't work out, give all those picks, give multiple first rounders, trade up, and you draft Archman.
I've been saying that for weeks.
I hate pushing it back, but I actually
Draft
I've
Jackson
never-
Dart in that situation.
I'm not even saying just because he's a Manning dude. He plays like a Manning with the scrambling ability to like an elite level. I'm just like, dude.
He's a modern day Manning.
Dude,
He's a modern game
He
Manning.
is a modern day Manning. Like he's literally like, if he goes crazy this year,
Which he will.
I
can
am
guarantee
so
that.
sold on them taking Will Johnson, which by the way is very people talk about
I
Travis
don't,
Hunter.
I don't think he's making it out of the top 6.
Okay, well that's in Travis
Ah.
6.
So if,
I don't
I'm
know.
just saying if like a team like the Raiders called up and be like,
Yeah, like, let's say something like that.
move,
Let's say the
move
Raiders.
back 3 spots.
Raiders, if they see Dion, they will definitely
Again,
trade
and
up
then
for
at
it.
that point, you could just scam the hell out of them. You should be going like, okay, well, if you give us this and this, what are they gonna say? No, like the whole point is like,
Well, if they get Dion, then they have to.
It's
get
like
traded.
it's like
That's-
it's like do what the Patriots were about to do to the Giants with Drake May. They're like, yeah, we want you first this year, next year, and maybe even after that. It's like literally say we want the entire
no,
house.
do that, dude. Just rip that.
I'm fine with
You
that.
gotta
Or-
build up the Sanders smoke screen.
Oh
Like,
yeah, it's gotta get built up.
like-
They gotta love him. They
like,
gotta love him.
In the media, I would have Shane like going out to dinner with Sanders, like keep putting it out there that we want Sanders. So somebody jumps us or takes our pick or something.
I'm fine with that scenario because it's either on one end you're picking with the 3rd pick, you're getting a blue chip prospect, an amazing player, or you're trading back a few spots and you're getting so much.
Well, because I'm sitting there, I'm like, I like Sanders. I don't love Sanders. And when I'm looking for my quarterback for a future that I want for the rest of the next 15, 20 years that I want being on my team.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at for that. I'm not
Also,
looking for guys.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if Arch Manning's coming out next year.
Yeah, I don't know
If
either.
he plays well enough, he will 100%. It depends where he's going to be going. It depends what he is.
Well, I mean, here's my thing. I don't know. Even if he
But
does
again,
play well,
but
I don't know.
He
And
has one. He's gonna have 1 year of college
But
ball.
the older, it doesn't matter. We'll think about guys like Joe Burrow, for example. Joe Burrow was not good, and then went to LSU, and he had a historical season, right? And out of nowhere, and
Was that pre-NIL?
well, Joe Burrow, yeah.
So that's what I'm
No,
saying.
here's my thing.
Arch Manning's gonna get
The
a
Giants and Eli Manning are not, they're not far on terms. Like they talk to each other. If the Giants, if the Giants communicate to Eli like we want to trade for this dude to go to the draft. We're planning on going up to trade this dude.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the situation, then that's the situation.
But that's the thing. If you're a team first overall and you need a quarterback, I give it like a 0% chance to trade out.
That's
If you're saying
that you
he's-
traded back for, unless you say
Well, there's
we have
always a
two
chance
picks-
that we have the number
if
one
we have
pick.
2 first-round picks that season, that year, and let's say we have another one, then we trade another one the next year.
I mean, there is a legitimate chance that we could be the worst team in the league like next year. I mean, we
Justin Fields goes so badly, you're right there. I mean, and also think about it. A team might need a quarterback, right? They might need a quarterback, but let's say we're number 4, we're number 3, like, and there's a quarterback still there. Let's say it's like Sanders and Ward, but like just better, right? It's like there's still another guy there. He's gonna be there. We're gonna trade you all this, and you're still getting a quarterback. They would do it.
You know, nobody ever wants to think like this because it's just negative. But like, I mean, there is always a chance that we made a mistake in retaining Dable and Shane, and we just get worse. And it is a legitimate possibility. I mean, look, if you would have told me 2 years ago we'd be in the spot, I would have told you you're crazy. And look at us now. Things could get worse. If we end up with the number 1 pick next year, obviously Dable and Shane are gone, and then you get a new regime and you pick Arch Manning.
Listen,
I mean, you can't lose.
I'm just gonna end it off here with this. I think, obviously, like, anything's possible in the NFL, and like we stated, there's obviously a lot more work to be done. I mean, we were tied for the worst record in the NFL. We need more vets. We need more game changers. We either stay at the 3rd pick, we trade back. There's so much to consider, and like I said, for not only the Giants and their fans, but John Mayer, I mean, he's also an owner. I mean, how many more seasons does he want to lose? Or Dable and Shane, their jobs on the line.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many more times I can stress this, that, you know, this is the biggest offseason you can argue in New York Giants franchise history. With being in a spot where you can also take a quarterback. So, I don't know if you guys have anything else to say, but I just know that Dable and Shane, you guys got a lot of work to do. And you guys got to turn this around.
But I also think they should, like you said before, they should not overspend. They should not do this. Have a set plan when you go in there and talk to Mara. Know what you're doing and be like, listen.
Be smart with it.
We're not going all in. We're not being idiots here. Okay. If you, I think the best option for them would be to trade back. You still can get like Will Johnson. Let's say you trade with the Raiders, right? You still get your cornerback 1, right? And Will Johnson is no joke either. Will Johnson, I've watched Will Johnson a lot. Will Johnson is absolutely no joke. I've seen games that he's played, teams like Texas and all these great teams. And, I mean, I watched the game versus Texas. The ball didn't even go to his side once that game. Like, the ball didn't even get